London under attack. At least 6 bomb blasts rocked the British capital.
I can see in front of me a red double-decker bus, the front half of which has been totally blown away.
I heard a very loud bang, the lights went out and the carriage filled with smoke.
In central London, a memorial marks the place where dozens died at the hands of Al-Qaeda. The British and US flags symbolising unity of purpose in fighting Islamist terror. Today, a small note celebrates the killing of Osama bin Laden, but the risk of attack is as real as ever. This is Tavistock Square in central London. It was here that a bus was attacked in July 2005 as part of the 7/7 bombings in which 56 people were killed, including 4 suicide bombers. Now, the killing of Osama bin Laden may well have taken the leader of Al-Qaeda, but here in Britain, the risk of homegrown jihadis launching further attacks in the future is still a very real possibility. East London is home to tens of thousands of Muslims. Many live in deprived areas. So I've come to Whitechapel, which is very much the heart of London's very multicultural east, because this is also home to one of Britain's most radical Islamic groups. I'm here to find out what they think about the death of Osama. These are members of a group called the Muslims Against Crusades, or the MAC, an organisation closely watched by the British government. I meet them on the street as they walk to their headquarters. Inside, the group gathers to discuss the death of a man they call a great leader, Osama bin Laden.
Like I said, you know, the death of Sheikh Osama.
Asadullah is one of the group's organisers.
Sheikh Osama bin Laden today, he represents maybe a symbolic kind of figurehead today, but there are many soldiers out there.
The group says they do not support terrorist activities in Britain, but they can understand those who might want to.
But unfortunately, you know, the West have become deaf, dumb and blind from their own atrocities, from their own criminal acts. So sometimes, you know, the bully needs a bloody nose to wake up to the reality of what they're living.
A leader of the Muslims.
Abu Ubaidah warns the death of bin Laden is not the end of Islamist terror.
He's a man who opposed the tyrants and the oppressors, when we can see that many of these so-called scholars were silent. He's been killed. Now it's us to take the revenge.
Abu Jandal believes bin Laden was just one in a long line of Islamist heroes.
So he was somebody who understood in our current time the burning issue is the occupation of Muslim land. After his death, it doesn't mean now, you know, the call will stop. Rather, there will be many people like him who will come after him, and Allah, He will bring more people to complete this obligation, and it will not stop because of an individual.
As long as the British are involved in the occupation of Muslims' lands, as long as they are involved in supporting dictatorial regimes around the Muslim world, then there will always be a high likelihood of attacks in this country.
A senior member of Muslims Against Crusades soon joins us.
So definitely there's going to be a race on, and I think many people are going to be inspired by his life. I think the amount of media attention that's going to happen from today onwards towards what he stood for and his life and all of his sacrifice, I think it's going to be something very inspirational, in particular for the Muslim youth around the world. And he has become a very iconic figure. I think many mothers, they're dying to have sons, people like Sheikh Osama.
While bin Laden was their main inspiration, much of their local guidance comes from another man. Ajam Chowdhury calls himself an occasional speaker for the Muslims Against Crusades.
However, Sheikh Osama bin Laden obviously was the emir of the jihad worldwide. He was someone respected by all of the Muslims worldwide who are practicing. And, you know, he left behind a legacy where the phenomenon of Al-Qaeda, in other words, the phenomenon of jihad and working and struggling to liberate the land and to defend life, honor and property, is now spread all around the world. Add to that the fact that, you know, nowadays jihad is franchised. People like Sheikh Anwar al-Awlaki are saying you don't need to come to Muslim countries. You can do the operation wherever you are. Build a bomb in your own kitchen. So, you know, in light of this, I think there's a very, very high likelihood of some type of retaliation. You know, I think that the Muslim community have many grievances in Britain, and, you know, I think the British government is sitting on a box of dynamite and they have the matches in their hand and they're being very flippant.
Terror expert Huria Ahmed wrote a major study on UK-based extremism. She says the MAC should not be taken lightly.
They are a small group, and a lot of them are, if I can use a colloquial phrase, a casual phrase, a lot of them are jokers, really. But what we have seen are individuals who have been linked to them, either by membership or whatever else. They have been convicted of Islamism-related crimes in the UK. We also found that some of them have gone and travelled abroad to either train or fight the so-called jihad. So they do pose a threat in that sense. And now this very same group, Al-Muhajirun, has a new name called Muslims Against Crusade, but it's essentially the same people. The message that they purport is a very violent Islamist ideology.
1/5 of Luton's 200,000 people are Muslim, and it's also known for its extremism.
So it's quite a multi...
Farisat Latif is secretary of the Luton Islamic Centre and Mosque.
Extremism in Luton, with a population of 250,000 people, of whom 50,000 are Muslim, concentrated in a very small area, with a very high young population, high unemployment, high deprivation. This is one of the most deprived areas in the country, in the top 3% of the country. And it's considered to be a hotbed of extremism.
He says he's engaged in a battle against Muslim extremists, trying to recruit new members here.
There's a small group of hardcore extremists, about 15 to 20, with a following of maybe about 50 young men, who are promoting a number of beliefs. One is pronouncing other Muslims, the Muslim governments and anyone who works for the Muslim government, police officers, civil servants, judges, all of them to be disbelievers, and by default it's permissible to kill them in the process of overthrowing them, and to establish an Islamic state that will declare global jihad, liberate Palestine, and basically, you know, bring down America, the West, Russia, the whole lot, really. That's the kind of call they're giving. So we're explaining to them that this is incorrect.
Farisat took me to the Islamic Centre that he says is the front line against extremists.
This is the Islamic Centre, and upstairs we have a school.
His opinion of bin Laden is the opposite of the Muslims Against Crusades.
Killing a man doesn't kill his ideas. His ideas are still around. There are people who still promote those ideas. Killing him is not going to change that. What is going to change that is challenging those ideas. And that's happening in this country with our mosque and other mosques. It's happening in Muslim countries by scholars. It's happening all over the Muslim world, basically. And that's the fight.
Back in central London, Quilliam has been set up by former Islamists to counter extremist thought. Ghaffar Hussain is the outreach officer.
In some countries it's getting weaker, and in some countries it's growing. So if you look at, for example, places like Egypt, Algeria, even Saudi Arabia, traditionally hotspots, but right now it's quite unfashionable to be a jihadist in those countries. If you look at Somalia, parts of Yemen, Afghanistan, Pakistan, even parts of Bangladesh, and even parts of the Maldives, parts of Southeast Asia, is actually growing. Indonesia in particular is growing in Indonesia, is growing in Malaysia.
Please come and join us in this demonstration. At least in Yawm al-Qiyamah, you can say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you stood for your Muslim brothers. Takbir!
The Muslims Against Crusades have gathered to mark the death of Osama bin Laden.
The biggest criminal in the world today is Barack Obama and his henchmen.
MAC leader Azim Chowdhury rallies the faithful.
USA, you obey! USA, you obey!
Ajam, how are you doing? What's today about?
Talking about the injustices of the Americans.
It may be a small crowd, but analysts warn this group's fiery rhetoric has led to extremist action among some.
Well, it's very unpredictable what bin Laden's death can create in the long term for Al-Qaeda. Will it be the death of Al-Qaeda, or will it make it grow stronger in terms of recruiting and support? We don't know. We can't say for sure. All this is very new. However, what we do know is that long before Osama bin Laden died, he became an inspiration for other groups and individuals for them to conduct terrorist operations and want to commit attacks. So in that sense, his death in the immediate future will not necessarily change what the threat that we have at the moment, because you still have these pockets of little Al-Qaedas or pockets of little Al-Qaeda individuals operating who still want to harm the West or Western interests.
With a heavy police presence and monitoring, the march moved off, heading for the US Embassy. Many of these themes are familiar, but Huria warns there's a new jihadist front that is a major concern for the West.
Well, the problem with Somalia, that what we have found is that there have been a number of individuals within Europe and America of perhaps of Somali background who have gone back to fight with the terrorist group there called Al-Shabaab or train with them. Now, these individuals, the security service here have said, could pose a potential security risk to the UK should they come back.
Not everyone welcomes their right to protest in the name of Osama.
Piss off back!
What's your opinion?
Well, I think there's fucking absolute garbage in this country. All the fucking innocent people that get killed through these fuckers. Piss off back to where
I don't need you doing that. Move away. I don't need you doing that.
A few blocks from the embassy, the march is attacked.
The group's been attacked by EDL, English Defence League guys from the side. Looks like 2 or 3 have been hit, 2 or 3 have been arrested.
They attacked some of the brothers, yes, they did, yeah.
As they approach the embassy, tensions rise further. Anti-Muslim protesters from the English Defence League are waiting.
Bin Laden, and we are arrested in England after he was killed. I remember how much bloodshed on our street.
Right, so this is the small group of Muslims which are launching their prayer for bin Laden. There's a large number of police here just outside the American embassy, and as you can see just over here is the English Defence League.
We love the Navy SEALs! We love the Navy SEALs! We love the Navy SEALs!
A group who basically are opposed to the Muslims being able to protest. They're being kept apart by 2 very strong lines of police.
After the second takbir, we make salam upon the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Osama's death may have weakened Al-Qaeda for now, but here at least, it's also fueled the resolve of a minority who warn it will only lead to more attacks.